Hi everybody, today we're just going to have a look at the solution to the second part of task 1 of the divers problem. A procedure, scapa flow file, needs to be written. This procedure takes an array of strings as a parameter, and this is the pseudocode header. So here is the identifier of the procedure, scapa flow file, and here is the identifier of the parameter. There is only one parameter, and it is an array of strings. Okay, it should be an array of 1 to 50 strings, but we're going to build and test our program with a smaller array. So basically we're just going to follow the structured English algorithm, but let's just make sure we read any important information. When inputting the name of the boat and the number of crew, you can use any data to test it. The number of crew cannot be less than 1 or more than 5. So we do need to create a validation routine in our code before we append anything to the file. Also, the boat and the crew information should be appended on one line, separated by a comma. Okay, so this is an example of what the file is going to hold: the boat name and the number of crew. Okay, so let's go back to the structured English algorithm and see if we can figure out the solution to scapa flow file, which takes an array of strings as a parameter. I'm just going to call it dives. So the first thing we're going to do is open this file called scapaflow.txt. So I'm just going to create a variable to help me do this. scapaflow.txt, and we're opening it in append mode. Okay, now you'll see in my project folder at the moment there is no scapaflow.txt. It doesn't exist. But hopefully later when I run my code, this text file will be generated. Okay, next. Loop through the string array, which I've called dives. Okay. If any dive, any of the elements in that array, remember each element in the array looks like this. This is one of the elements in the array. This is dives 0. This is dives 1. This is dives 2. These are the different elements in the array. So if any dive in the array starts with this text, scapa flow, then we input the name of the boat and the number of crew, and we append it to this file here. Remember that when we're inputting the crew number, cannot be less than 1 or more than 5, so we will do some validation as well. So let's do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the string. So I'm just going to grab the whole string and store it in a variable. So this will, for example, store, when I is 0, it's going to store this. That's the whole thing. Now we need to check that the first 9 characters are the same as scapa flow. So I've called that a location. I'm going to call that dive. And then I'm going to call this location. Dive. So I'm going to slice this string. I'm going to start at character 0 and it finishes at character 9. That's index 9. That's the stopping point. So let's do that. 0 to 9. That's the slice that I'm taking. Now we can compare that with the word scapa flow. If location is the same as scapa flow, then we're going to input the name of the boat. Oops. That's fine, so we'll get that from the keyboard. We're also going to input the number of crew and do some validation with it. So because we're doing validation, I'm going to convert this number to be an integer. Just my way of doing it. So crew num equals int input enter number of crew. And now we need to do some validation. While crew num is less than 1 or crew num is greater than 5, while that situation exists, we want to ask again, hey, give us some proper data, because we don't want that data. Int input invalid 1 to 5 only, please. So there's my validation loop. Now I'm going to create the actual info for the text file. So it's the boat concatenated with a comma, and I'm going to put a space in there as well, concatenated with crew num. Now crew num at the moment is an integer. The only thing that I can put into a text file is a string. So I need to convert crew num to be a string. So that's a string, that's a string, and that's a string. We have 3 strings concatenated together. I'm going to store it in another variable just to help me manage what's going on, and then use my file handling variable f to not append, there is no append, it's write, isn't it? f.write info. So we opened it in append mode, and now we're writing to it. And that's my for loop. And the last thing we need to do after the array has been finished processing, close the file. Don't forget to close the file. So now that we've solved the procedure, this is a procedure, nothing is being returned, it's just a procedure. Let's write a test program. Now, do I still have available an array? Yes, I do. Now, in my sample array, all of the strings start with scappa flow, scappa flow, scappa flow, scappa flow, scappa flow. I'm just going to change that because I only want one for this. Scappa glow, scappa grow, scappa slow, scappa no, scappa. Can you think of another? Is that everything? Good, that's everything. So we only have one that's scappa flow. Now what I'm going to do is call this procedure, scappa flow file, and I'm going to send it some data. And let's run. Whoa! Scappa flow files is not defined, line 36. Scappa flow file. Run. Scappa, oh dear me, I've made a right mess of this, haven't I? Run. Enter the name of the boat. So it's what's happened here is it's opened a file. Let's just see if it exists. Yes, it now exists. Brilliant. So it's opened the file. Now it's looping through the array. It's reached this one. This is where it is at the moment. And it said, yep, this thing is the same as scappa flow. Yes, it is. So now it's asking me to input the name of the boat. So Julia. Enter the number of crew, 77. Invalid, 1 to 5 only, 0. 6. Let's try 5. Let's do some boundary data testing. 5. That's the end of the program. Let's go to our scappa flow file and just see what's there. Yes, It worked. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go back to my program and I'm just going to have one more Scapa flow file. So we've got 2 this time. Let's run it again. So, name of the boat, Julia. Let's do some boundary testing. 1. Oh, there's another one. Alexander. 88. No, invalid. 34 minus 34. 0. No, 3. And that's the end of the program. Let's go and check our file. Yes, we got it. The problem is that we don't have a new line. So what we could do really is info equals boat, concatenated with that, concatenated with a new line. And that would give us everything on a new line.